Hi, everybody. Glad you're with us. Thank you for being here today. You know, in the Backstory podcast, we try to bring you some interesting people. A lot of times, these are people much like you that have decided to step into the work and sometimes met with great success. We've seen a lot of people we have actually been instrumental in starting or that had been around us in the beginning that had just exploded. So it's been marvelous to show these to you and show you how people are working and what that's like. Every so often, I will take some time out. And from the interviews, and we got some incredible people coming. I can't wait to share it all with you. But every time once in a while, I'm going to take some time out and just kind of bring you up to date on the things the group is saying. They're saying a lot of things right now. They talked even more just recently in June 29th on the Spiritcast live broadcast. We're working with this particular subject also in Lightmaster right now, the first two Lightmasters of the month, and to be able to do that. So what I'd like to do during this time together is to simply bring you the opportunity to work together and to kind of share with you a little bit of what this is from my perspective, from what the group has talked to me about, because there's quite a few things that are changing that they're talking about quite a bit right now. One of them in particular is about the Earth. The Earth is going through a lot of changes right now. I'll tell you a little bit about what they're saying the ETs are doing and what they're doing. I don't know whether we're going into live channel today or not. I don't know that. We'll just have to wait. Sometimes they tap me on the shoulder and they say, just get out of the way, Steve. We'll take it from here. So I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. That is absolutely truthful, though. That's the kind of part of the way we work with things. Okay, for in the time being, I'm going to get settled over here and we will kind of bring that in, allow them to kind of take over if they want, but I want to get in position so I can just kind of relax and talk to you. So welcome today. Glad you're in the Backstory podcast. Like I said, I do have some very interesting people already lined up in the books. We'll also be bringing back a few of the people that I really enjoyed and that really, there's so many times, so many people just mesh with the work. It's just been incredible. So we've had a few of those. I'll be able to bring that back to you and tell you kind of what's coming on from a larger perspective. Now, let me tell you where we're at. The most important thing that I can tell you today is that the group is talking a lot about ETs, but they're not calling them ETs. They've described this in several different locations, including recent Lightmaster courses, particularly in the recent Lightmaster courses. They've been talking a lot about that and what that is. What they basically say about our friends, our parental races, is that there are 4 parental races on this planet. In other words, those are beings that were here at the beginning of this stage of humanity. I will tell you, we've gathered before as spirits. We gathered before as spirits on Mars. And we inhabited, I say we, that's the large we. We basically inhabited Mars for a while. The 3 sisters came together. They gave a very interesting story about carbon dioxide, how Earth needed carbon dioxide and it was loaned from the 2 sisters, the 2 other sisters, Venus and Mars. So anyway, they've got this interesting story about it. I haven't been able to find any actual background of that or any astrophysics that supports that. So right now it's just a story, but it's basically about how Earth started and what took place. In the beginning, we had parental races. We had races that helped form these body forms and help to evolve them in different ways. Are we part of evolution? Yes, we are, but there's some huge missing links. We took some jumps. Where did they have help? Yeah, yes. First of all, many of these beings have been with us a long time. There were 6 parental races in the beginning. There's only 4 of them left. Yes, war does happen in other parts of the universe, unfortunately. There are 4 of these parental races left. These are some very caring beings, I will tell you that. There's a lot of incredible love that's coming from these beings when I get to experience them. The group has shown me them several times. I don't actually interact with them or channel them per se, but when I get to see them, it's like I get to see them doing their work. They're very dedicated in what they're doing. They're here to focus on different things. We've all got this fear. Well, what happens if they're smarter than us? What happens if they're, what happens if they're going to take us over? Well, they were, and they had the technology, didn't they? They could have taken us over a long time ago. And in fact, they did. That's where the story of the Garden of Eden came from. Anyway, other situations we'll talk to you about at another time. But they've been talking a lot about these beings lately. Now, they're not the only ETs on Earth. There's many. The group said there's over 141 races of ETs living on this planet, interfacing with the planet sometimes staying, sometimes not. How is that possible? Well, I'm a bit of a scientist myself. I take all the science magazines, all the astrophysics magazines, all the quantum mechanics magazines. I love to keep up with it because when I'm reading some of these things, the group says, see, this fits right into what we've been telling you. And here's what it looks like on the larger scale. So I'm able to integrate a lot of that stuff. And I know many astrophysicists who have the same opinion. Number one, when they look out in the sky, they know that there's other life out there. Just the sheer numbers of galaxies that we have discovered. Galaxies like ours, and like the Milky Way. We're going to merge with Andromeda down the road too. That'll be fun. A lot of fireworks. Anyway, basically, their entire galaxies have been found. There is absolutely no doubt that there's other life in the universe from all of these astrophysicists that I know. Where they come up short is saying, well, do you believe you've been visited by astrophysicists? And right away, they jump into a belief system, a linear belief system, comes from their training, comes from their schooling, comes from everything else, a basic Newtonian timeline, which doesn't fit. What the group has talked about recently is that these are beings that know how to shift dimensions. Now, it wasn't that long ago, it was only a couple months ago, we did a seminar called Multidimensional Healing. And it was really the breakdown of how dimensions work, how things work, the things, how it all comes together and how it's in multiples of 12 and all the other aspects of it. So it was a really fascinating way to cover all that. And in that, of course, we talked a little bit about the processes that we're starting to see, the interactions of the ETs. So where astrophysicists come up short is they say, yes, we believe there's life in the universe, but we don't believe it's actually visited us. It has no way. We know from our training that nothing moves faster than the speed of light. Well, that's true in our dimension. Now, what if there are other, and the group has talked about this many times. What if there were other timelines running right next to ours, vibrating just a little bit differently? Would you cross each other with it? Occasionally they do cross, and then they come back and they cross again. And we've even celebrated some of these timeline crossings. So this is the illusion of linear time and dimensionality. So when does this usually happen? It usually happens at night when you're sleeping. One of the greatest times that you can fall into another dimension of time. Your conscious brain gets relaxed long enough to let go. And especially in the REM state, as you're coming back into the world, you can actually jump into another dimension of time. That's when you have these incredibly vivid dreams that many times don't always make sense, but you remember them, every detail about them years later. Many times those are actually jumping into another dimension of time and space. What if people could do that intentionally? Well, that's actually what the group says we're looking at. The group says we're not looking at extraterrestrials. We're looking at extradimensionals. And that's what they've started to call them. They're calling them EDs instead of ETs, because they're basically living in a dimension right next to ours, but they've learned how to tune their frequency to be able to jump into our world and jump back out. And that is why the group calls them extradimensionals. That takes all the challenges of the astrophysicist away that say nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. Yes, that's correct. But you can jump dimensions. And since time is illusion, there's a lot that's going to be coming on that from the group down the road, but not now. It's too confusing. I know. So anyway, all that stuff's going on. So now they're calling them EDs, and they're calling them extradimensionals. And they have said something from the beginning of their work when they started talking about EDs recently. This was probably only about less than a year ago, probably 8 months ago, 9 months ago. We started talking about extraterrestrials and the job that they're doing, things that are taking place, how they are involved with our politics, how they're involved with our technologies. A lot of things actually came from them. Even though we think we come up with these great ideas, they're actually dropped into the subconscious mind and see who grabs it first. So there's all kinds of interesting things that are taking place that are seeded. We have been being seeded for quite some time. Now, where are we with everything? Well, the group says that those 4 parental races, keep in mind, there's all kinds of parental races. There's all kinds of EDs out there, and they have different focuses. None of them are trying to take us over or turn us into a slave race. Okay? That's not needed. Okay, when you evolve, you don't need slave races to do your dirty work. So anyway, basically it's a different type of situation. So where are we with the whole process? Well, they said that there were 4 parental races actively working on planet Earth right now. And they talked a lot about this about a year ago, and they basically said that they're here. They have been here. They've never really left, but there's a concerted effort on planet Earth right now. I assumed it was because of all the craziness that's going on with politics, all the crazy wars that we're having, all the nonsense things that are taking place that don't really pan out or make sense. And I kind of assumed that was it. And the group said, no, that's not it. They're not here to work with humans at all. They're here to work only with the Earth. There's a critical aspect of the Earth herself that needs to be adjusted for her to remain in orbit the way she is. This is a real serious thing. They haven't talked about it. They told me over and again that they are here to work with the Earth, and they're having success with working with the Earth. I don't know what that means. It doesn't really mean much to me just to hear those words. But recently they've come out with something new, and they wanted to take it a little further as to what has taken place. Apparently a milestone has been reached in the ED's work with planet Earth. Something has happened now that can change the trajectory of planet Earth, and it has a lot to do with the work that these 4 parental races did on planet Earth already. And it's only over the last several months that this has happened. But let me explain what's taken place. We have apparently, and I had to do my research on this because I didn't quite understand it. I know how things circulate, having to do with the jet stream and how things move around in the air, how the particles from the Sahara Desert fly in the air and actually feed all sorts of plankton, which produce oxygen on the Earth. The interconnection of many of these crazy things that take place. I know how that works. And I wasn't that familiar with how it works below the ocean. So I had to do some research. But that is where the EDs have been working. Now, there are many times that go back into the early 20s where spacecraft, we'll simply call it, have entered into the water. Many times. There's been a lot of things that have surfaced, people saying, well, they have bases down there. They have bases that they refresh and they turn the seawater into what they need, and they get all their information by going down there and all this stuff. That's not quite the way the group sees it. Yes, they are multidimensional. So they literally can shift their vibration a little bit and disappear from your view. It doesn't mean they're not there. It means they're vibrating at a different range that you cannot see. And a lot of things have been taking place under the water with planet Earth. So especially over the last 5 to 6 years, these EDs, these are parental races, have been working in the water a lot. You may even start to see more of that because they're starting to let themselves be seen. They've realized that even though they made agreements to keep it from, one government didn't want to know that they were talking to the other government, so that, it's all about power and money. It's real simple. Follow the power, follow the money, follow the struggles, you'll see where it goes. And unfortunately, the EDs are wrapped up in it many times. But this time a call went out that was much more important than all the small BS. And that was from the Earth herself. She was in trouble. There was one of her systems that were stuck. I'll explain it very basically. I know very little about it because I had to do my research. But it's basically called the Global Ocean Conveyor Belt. And what it does is it does the same thing that I described in the air, how the air is distributed all over the planet through the jet stream and different aspects of being able to take it in different places and how it's working and how it's changing with global warming. Well, that is also taking place with this as well. It's happening in some very fascinating ways that are starting to uncover very quickly. So apparently, this conveyor belt system is made to distribute the hot and cold temperatures all over the planet. It actually regulates the temperatures of the planet by being able to bring the cold water from certain levels and take the hot water from other levels and distribute them in different places. It's a fairly simple system that goes into motion. However, because of some of the things that have taken place, particularly the melting of the ice caps, which has brought a tremendous amount of basically clear or unsalted water, fresh water, into the oceans. What that does is that takes the heavier salt layers and brings them down. There's a separation in the oceans now, where the salt water is down here and the fresh water is up here. And that has clogged these conveyor belt systems. This is what the EDs have been working on, and particularly, and they have now reached a level where they have actually, they're going to see some success from this. Now, what does that mean exactly? What's going to take place? Does that mean global warming is going to stop? Not for a few years. You're looking at a freight train. You want it to stop, you want to slam on the brakes right now, you can, but it's going to take several kilometers to stop. It's not going to stop right away. It's moving very fast with a lot of mass behind it. The same is true with the Earth and her evolution. You're going to continue to see global warming increase. You're going to continue to see records be set on planet Earth for the near future, the near 3 to 5 years. After that time, things should start to hook in. The conveyor belts are working again. It'll take that long to start to get things in motion again. When they do get into motion, you will see things start to change. Now, here's the reason we told you all of this. When they start to change, whether it's 3 to 5 years down the road, whether it's tomorrow, when they start to change, they have two options. It can change slowly, or it can snap and change very quickly. Either way, humanity is entering a new ice age at the end of this run. And that will be facilitated partly by releasing this conveyor belt and putting it back to normal. I was going to be entering that type of situation anyway, but the whole conveyor belt, as I said, has basically been jammed up, has not been working properly. Now, don't believe I was not able to find science behind that, saying that. This is what the group is telling me. I have seen things talking about it. I have seen recent studies and recent things, people talking about a coming ice age again. Let me explain what they're talking about from the group's perspective. One of the things that the group has talked about is this mini ice age. Apparently I think it was the late teens or early 20s, we actually had a mini ice age on planet Earth. It mostly affected the upper parts of North America and northern Western Europe a lot. It was really, really, really cold. It wasn't ice age cold where we were trying just to survive, but it was really uncomfortable and made life very difficult. We are liable to see that one again. That one is what the group calls the mini ice age. It can last anywhere from 10 to 15 years, and then we can start going back on a fairly normal cycle. The Holocene is gone. The Holocene is a 10,000-year period where the temperature only moved up 1 degree up or down. That ended. You're past that now, thanks to global warming. Took care of that very quickly. So did a lot of things. You're on track. We're on track, the group says, with helping with a lot of things we do. There's a lot of confusion out there. People saying, no, we still need oil. We still have to have oil to do this. We still have to have oil to run these things. Yes, you've built a society on oil. You're going to have oil for a while. But the more that you can be conscious and to work with new battery systems that are coming, those can be huge with being able to make electric cars more viable. And you stop playing the games with tariffs, you'll find that they're plentiful and really help to move things in a global fashion. So those are things that the group has been talking about. Now, what happens if it moves very quickly? Then we enter a full-on ice age, and it could last for quite some time, not just a short 15 years. We are at the precipice of a new ice age, and how we experience that will have a lot to do with what the Earth experiences between now and then. That's the reason the group wanted to have this message. They want to let everyone know that right now, your work, your efforts with working with planet Earth, whether that's saving water, whether that's recycling, whether that's picking up trash on your walk in the woods, whatever it is, everything's going to be amplified quite a lot because you have capabilities of changing that right now. A little bit of help from this side of the veil and human side to planet Earth will allow her to shift more comfortably rather than take a snap movement and fall into a rapid ice age. When is this going to happen? We still don't know. You might be able to postpone it for a very long time, may be able to avoid it altogether, although I don't think so. I think you'll experience the cooling in some fashion. How far down the road, I don't know. But there is another side to this whole cycle. And you'll be hearing scientists talk about this conveyor belt. This is starting to move again. And we say that because basically it was jammed up, not functioning the way it does. It wasn't causing the global warming. The global warming is still in effect. It's still going through the same processes. And like we said, you're going to still see years ahead of you that are going to be in record heat. But you will see it. You will see a little light at the end of the tunnel there. And that can be huge. And the more that you work with planet Earth right now, the easier it's going to be for her to make that turn gently and softly. The EDs that are here, the extradimensionals that are here, there's some incredible beings. Well, you hear some horror stories because horror stories sell things very well on the internet, more so than the actual truth many times. Are there EDs? Are there the bad guys that are trying to capture you in some way? Are there bad humans? Yes, there are bad humans. But the reality is most of them that are here not only don't mean you any harm, but are really here to help. And they are. And that's something to keep in mind. Now, as we mentioned, there's 141 different races right now of different ETs on Earth. We're talking about the four main ones. You probably know them. We don't need to describe them all right now, but they're the 4 main ones that humans know because they are the remainder of your 6 parental races. They're what's left. And they're here to keep it going. They don't want this to end. They had to come first, work with the planet. Now they'll come and try to plant some seeds, which they have done many times. Please do not put them on a pedestal. Do not pray to them. Just take the information and use it. And stop giving the power away to everything else around you. That's their message. And that's the idea of what we want to do here with the Backstory podcast as well. We'd like to bring you as much of this information as possible. I know it's difficult to understand some of the things that we talk about. Multidimensionality was very challenging for me to grasp in the very beginning. Now I'm wrestling with this no time concept that I still have not managed to wrap my brain around in any way. They basically say that the time is an illusion that we create on Earth. And the funny part is, with the James Webb Telescope, many physicists are starting to say the same thing. So anyway, there's a lot of interesting things that are taking place in different ways. But I have not been able to wrap my brain around that. And until I do, I can't teach it. So we will be talking about that another time, maybe. In the meantime, these are the things I wanted to bring you up to date on, to kind of share with you the long story about what's taking place on planet Earth, having to do with our parental races. How will they help us in the future? Well, we know from the past, because this has happened many times, we know that in all races, on all religions, all of them have talked about the great floods. We know this. And one religion over here says, well, you humans weren't good enough, so you had to wipe everybody out and start over again. Okay, so sounds pretty judgmental to me. I'm not sure that quite fits in my realm, but that's okay. Then you've got all the other aspects about the Garden of Eden, how it was all prepared for you. You just had to follow some simple rules, which you couldn't follow. Thank you, Eve. Absolutely. Feminine empowerment was absolutely needed to break the bonds that we had at that point. That released the bonds and set us loose in the planet of free choice. We have so many things that have taken place as a result of that. Now, all eyes of the universe are on planet Earth because we were the planet of free choice. Not that we've reached the highest level of technology. We have reached the highest level of evolution because we're actually moving from the 3rd into the 5th dimension, and that just does not happen. But it's happening to us. We're very unique. We're very special. We're not perfect. We're still going to make lots of mistakes, I promise. But the group is very excited about these new presentations from the EDs. What they've been talking about, we'll bring you more of that coming forward, what the capabilities are. Hopefully we'll bring some science reports. Hopefully we'll be able to see some science reports talking about this conveyor belt moving again. I haven't found it yet, but didn't quite know where to look for all of it. But anyway, we'll find some of that. I'll bring that to you in one of the Backstory podcasts. Like I said, I've got some fascinating people coming up for you. I can't wait to share some of these people with you. Susie Miller will be here. Stuart will be with us. If anybody knows Stuart, has got this incredible voice, and I can't wait to bring him back on. We've had quite a few with Stuart Pierce. So anyway, we'll be bringing several people on that I think you'll love. Incredible energies. And also, if you know people that you'd like to see interviewed, send us an email. You can send your emails to questions@espavo.org. We'll pick them up. Sometimes we'll answer them in the Q&A that we do on YouTube every month. And if not, if it needs a personal question, we'll answer it there. It does take us a little while to get those, but questions@espavo.org is the best place to do that. We're expanding in a lot of ways. We hope to see a lot of you coming up soon. We'll be expanding in several areas. Hope to do a seminar coming up in the Netherlands, which we have not done in a while. We're planning on doing one more in Belgium this year, and I'm planning to go to Russia. We're planning to go to Moscow. I'll give you more information on these things as we go forward. We can make a difference if we just follow the lead and we just one step at a time. That's the whole purpose of what we're doing. Okay, next week, I'll bring you there. We're doing these every 2 weeks because we have so much material coming in. But I wanted to take this time off and explain a few things to you. You will hear this word EDs again, because basically they know how to shift this dimensional reality and how to do some things that we don't know how to do. The group's also talked about anti-gravity, the basics of how it's created. It's created the same way that we shift dimensions at 90-degree angles. There's some basic understandings of that I don't even know, but I'm trying to grasp it. But they call it the orthogonal matrix. It's how you shift from one dimension to the other or bleed into a dimension if you wish. There's different ways of working with these things. We did bring those up in multidimensional healing, and we'll bring them up again at some point. All right, everybody. Thank you for being with me today. And thank you for letting me ramble, able to kind of just bring you the energies from the group from a different perspective and tell you some of the fun things I've been saying. That we are evolving on this planet. Now, I know we're here in times of transition. I know it's crazy. I know sometimes I want to throw things at the television. But the reality is we're here for that reason. We can help rebalance this planet. As these systems break apart, we're the ones that can help to fix it. And that's part of why we're here. So keep all that in mind and don't lose faith. There's so many wonderful things that we can do to start changing this earth. It's one thing I will mention that I will bring up on another one. The group shared with me one thing that can change the pollution levels of planet Earth very quickly. It's called integrated farming. It's where you do not till the soil ever. You don't kill the microbes in the soil by trying to till it, and then have to put the fertilizer back in later because you killed all the microbes. There's some fascinating things that we can do. Integrative farming is one of the simple ways of being able to use the land in its entirety without having to do all these crazy things that we do with it. And the reduction of CO2 during those processes is absolutely huge. So anyway, take a look at it. Integrated farming, one of the very simple things that we can do to make a huge difference now, but we have to convince the farmers to do it. That's the whole problem. We'll work on it. All right, everybody. Espavo, thank you for being with us. I'll return next week or next time out in every 2 weeks with a new one from basically, I can't remember who's on the schedule, but we've got some really interesting people I think you're going to love. And they're coming in pretty good now. So we'll keep this going here and share it with your friends. Please feel comfortable with it. If you're here watching us on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. That way we'll notify you when these things come up all the time. All right, everybody. Espavo, thank you for being with us. I'm Steve Rother. I'm the channel for the group here at Espavo.